All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning into our presentation today. My name is Patrick Gardner with Guarantee Mortgage. I am the Vice Chair of the Education and Events Committee. And on behalf of the committee, I'd like to welcome you all to our Health and Wellness series. Today is our first of 3 interactive workshops on wellness. As we get started with the webinar, I want to share some logistics for the meeting. As the Zoom audience, you will all be muted throughout the entirety of the presentation. The webinar is being recorded and will be available to view on Monday on the SFAR social library. There will be some optional audience participation today throughout the chat feature in Zoom. So please feel free to share your thoughts and feelings when asked to participate. We ask that if you do want to ask questions, that you ask through the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. And if possible, if you can hold those questions to the Q&A period for each presenter. Overall, the Wellness Series was set up with the intention of offering general guidance for mental, physical, and spiritual health during this challenging time dealing with COVID-19. Please keep your questions as general as possible. And if you need coaching or counseling service, our presenters have offered an initial free consultation as a follow-up. Please reach out to them directly, as their contact information will be available throughout. If you have urgent needs, please seek a physician's care or counseling service right away. They're mentally important for us in these challenging times. And without further delay, I'd like to introduce our mindful moderator for our wellness series, Justin Hedemark. Next slide, please. Justin Hedemark, our mindful moderator for the series, is a dual licensee with the State Bar of California and California Association of Realtors. He owns and operates Hedemark Law PC, a boutique estate planning firm that specializes in estate planning, probate, and trust administration for clients in San Francisco and the Bay Area. Justin is also a real estate consultant with Helm Real Estate. He uses his extensive experience in the legal and real estate industries to advise clients on numerous strategies to buy, sell, and invest in real estate while protecting their loved ones and assets. Justin is a really great guy, and I have followed him through his mindful practices, and I really appreciate that he's on the call today. So welcome, Justin.
Thank you, Patrick, for the kind introduction, and thank you all for attending this seminar and series. This is the first in 3, and we will have 2 subsequent webinars after this. But without further ado, I'd like to get into how to ground yourself for this meeting. So Jen, if we could go to the next slide, please. All right, so I know everybody's dealing with constant influx of fear, anxiety, worry nowadays, and working from home seems like it's taking up more time, not giving us more time. I know that I'm constantly inundated with phone calls, emails, people talking to me, reaching out for questions. So what I'd like to do today is just give you a little baseline so that way we can all be receptive to our presenters when they express all of the helpful information moving forward. So if you would indulge me, if you're seated or if you're standing, please follow along. We'll do a brief mindfulness exercise right now. So if you're seated, just please sit with your back straight up in your chair. If you're standing, put your arms down by your sides. And let your hands just rest on your legs. And take a few deep breaths in through the nose. And release it out through the mouth. And just do that a couple more times. Breathing in through the nose and releasing that breath. And as you breathe in, notice how the body expands. And as you release, notice how the body relaxes. And on the next out breath, just let your eyes close. And as you let your breathing return to its normal pace and rhythm, you'll notice that it just automatically continues. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to wonder about it. Your breathing just happens. So let that breath just fill your lungs. And we're going to start with a scan at the top of the head. So focus your energy at the top of the head and scan down down to the neck, down through the shoulders, and continue scanning, just looking for how your body feels today. Is it tense? Do you have knots? Do you have a sense of calm, peace, fear? Don't judge it, just note it and move on. And as you go down through the legs and end in the feet, just come back to the sounds around you. Listen if you hear birds chirping, cars driving by, the air conditioning kicking on. Just take a moment to settle in that space. And as you go on about your day today, make a note of how you feel right now. Feel that sense of ease and calm, your seat on the chair, your feet on the floor. Feel that grounding energy. You're present. You're in this moment. You're not in the past. The future is not here yet. This is now. No matter what happens throughout today, you can always come back to this simple exercise and reconnect. So just take a moment to feel that energy, feel that calm, feel that breath. And now, take another big, deep breath in through the nose and exhale, breathing it out, and open your eyes. All right, hopefully you got something out of that as we go through with our presentation. Hopefully you're in a more grounded space. Jen, if you could move to the next slide, please. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our two speakers today. The first will be Jewel Love, followed by Livia Jenvey. Jewel Love is a licensed psychotherapist and CEO of Champions Mental Health. He helps Fortune 500 companies as well as motivated and talented professionals like yourselves identify and reduce stigma around mental health, coach them as far as how to gain emotional balance and empower themselves to get through emotional pain and mental confusion. So as we go through this, I would like to hand it over to Jewel, and then we will get into the presentation by Livia a little bit later on. Jewel will answer questions. If you have them, please put them in the Q&A. I will be feeding them to Jewel throughout this presentation. And without further ado, I give you Jewel Love.
Justin, thank you very much. And everybody, at this trying time, it's really important now, probably more so than ever, to make sure that we have the tools and a supportive community for optimal mental health. So I'm really grateful that this community has been created to support our emotional well-being and strong minds, because there is a massive change that we're engaged in right now. And there's a lot of challenges, obviously, that's very obvious to everybody, but also a lot of opportunities. And I provide a lot of tools to various corporations, and I'm going to give you the #1 tool that I use with them today. And we're going to actually get to practice it. I'm a very interactive speaker as well, so I'm going to be asking you all to type some things in the chat box, and that's likely how you're going to get the most out of this presentation. So we're actually going to move forward and make this very interactive. We're going to look at some of the things around stigma. Let's get to the next slide. And we're going to look at the !1 tool that I like to use, and we're going to get to practice it. It's StrengthBased RealTime today. So if you're ready to go, just go ahead and type in "let's go!" exclamation point. If you're ready to go, just type in "let's go!" exclamation point into the chat box. Let's go. Let's go. It's coming in. It's coming in. Nancy says, "Let's go." Dolly says, "Let's go." Derek says, "Let's go." Lena says, "Let's go." Let's go, folks. Okay, so here we go. We're going to get it rolling here. This is really about having strong mental health and being able to pivot forward in this challenging and opportune time, pivoting forward. So the 3 things: we're going to clarify the problem, find resources around emotional literacy, and take action. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of the take action, but Livia is really going to be driving home the taking action piece. So let's get to the next slide. Big mental health concerns are coming up for people right now. Clear one around isolation, especially for those people who are staying at home, working at home, and they're by themselves. Many times for those people think that, oh, they're doing great. They don't have kids. They don't have a spouse to communication or anything like that. But actually, a lot of those people are very lonely being at home. They are touch deprived being at home. And so there's a lot that even those people are going through. So we have isolation, we have anxiety, we have depression symptoms exacerbated in professionals, all people. We're talking about professionals. Substance abuse, if that was already a concern with drinking or certain drug use, there's actually talk about people, even in this setting, somebody mentioned that people are buying more alcohol now. Domestic violence, there's reports of that being on the rise, as well as suicidality. So really just wanting to equip you to be proactive around taking care of your mental and emotional health. Let's get to the next slide, though. Let's get to the next slide. 20% of American workers annually, typically, have a mental health concern from that previous list that will arise. But with COVID-19, people losing their jobs, industries changing, people working less at the same job for some, that number is already on the rise. But here's the piece, folks, and here's the pivoting forward piece, which could be beneficial for you, beneficial for your family, beneficial for your career, beneficial for your future, beneficial for your mindset as we stay agile to the world that's changing rapidly around us. 60% do not seek treatment. And yet you've shown up here today to proactively work on your mental health. So here is one of the ways you're already taking action to pivot forward for success at this time. Let's get to the next slide. But there is still mental health stigma. We've all heard it. Somebody talks about mental health, and you might hear talk around or online or something. What do we hear? You are crazy. Maybe you're weak, possibly making it up as well. I'm curious, what are some of the mental health stigmas that you all have heard? Of course, not that you've said, but that you've heard in society around people that have mental health challenges, are overly anxious, can't get out of bed in the morning, lethargy, lack of energy. Go ahead and type it in the chat box. What are some of the mental health stigmas that you've heard throughout your lifetime from your community, maybe a cultural community or related to gender, not strong enough? What are some of the other mental health stigmas? Because we're looking to reduce that right now that you've heard. If you could go ahead and type that in the chat box over the years. We're looking for the stigmas right now. It's not real. Good one. Too sensitive. Are you kidding me? It's in your head. Wow. Yes, awesome. So we're just going to take that into mind, take that into account, that there's a lot of mental health stigma floating around. It's often dismissed society. And we actually want to challenge that, push back. Mental health it makes you bad, it makes you a worse person. And just push back on that a little bit today and say it's important to be proactive. Right now we're seeing in corporate America, mental health used to be kind of a sidestep issue. And now HR, head of people, they're making it a number one priority for their people. So taking care of your mental health, you'll be lockstep with some of the best companies that we have in the States right now. Let's get to the next slide. We're moving into talking more about these mental health practices, and we're going to get into one that we can do together. Mental health or psychotherapy, the practice that I engage in with clients, can help balance your thoughts, regulate your emotions. Wherever you're at, go ahead, take a deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. big now. Regulating your emotions, it's big now. So you can make smart decisions and becoming solution focused. Something Livia will help us with. Let's get to the next slide, and keep it moving. The number one tool is emotional literacy. You may remember back in something like third grade where there was pictures on the wall of a smiley face and sad face and an angry face. And that's a good place to start, but many of us never get the education to walk up to a collegiate level of emotional literacy. And you all are in sales. You know that emotions control the majority of buying decisions. And they will also likely control how you're able to show up during this pandemic at this time. And although there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of certainty about how we choose consciously to show up at this time. So some of those feelings, emotions, peaceful, friendly, loving, joyful, hopeful, alert, thankful, safe. Some of the more difficult ones we're going to get into: afraid, irritated, angry, confused, numb, shocked, sad, pain, lonely. In addition to that, I want you to go ahead and start typing emotions that are not up here in the chat box. What are some feelings that you know of? We're building collectively a container around emotional literacy. Type that in the chat box now. What are some feelings that you know of, that you've heard of or experienced? Type those in the chat box that are not currently on the screen. And there's many. We're just building up our emotional literacy repertoire right now. Thank you. We got anger, fear, and uncertainty, stress, tenacity, faith, resilience, Dolly, envious, ooh, yes, regret, overwhelm. This is good. We got it coming through. Safe, feeling safe as well. Good. So good, we're building this up. Let's get to the next slide. We're actually going to put this into practice, folks. So here's game time. This is a strength-based activity. Please go ahead. We're going to collectively write 3 feelings in the chat box, if you're okay with that, comfortable, how you're feeling around COVID-19, and go. 3 feelings. I'm going to give you 10 to 15 seconds. 3 feelings in the chat box. 3 feelings. Veronica says fearful, hopeful, lost. Thank you for saying lost. Thank you, April, for saying lost. Thank you. Let's welcome all of that in. Thank you, whoever said Mary, for saying worried. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying unsure, uncertain. Ooh, irritated. Yes. I'm not cheering on the feelings, just welcoming in the feelings. Because once we have conscious awareness of them, then we can do something about them. Okay, let's get to the next slide. We're going to go through a few of these. These are strength-based. The real estate market. 3 feelings that you have about the real estate market at this time. Positive, negative, in the chat box. All feelings welcome, but just 3. Scan, like Justin was saying, your body and see what top 3 feelings come up for you at this time around the real estate market, specifically in the chat box. Curious. I like that. Scared. Thank you for naming the fear coming up. Uncertainty. Amazed. Ups, downs, recovery. Frozen. Fear. Resilient. Flexible. Unproductive. Yes. Worry, strength. On lock. Virtual. Okay, we got virtual feelings. That's what's going on here. Fantastic. We got 2 more. It's strength-based. Let's go to the next slide. We're going to keep it moving here. It's key to name these things. We're getting personal, but we're not talking about your personal situation. We're talking about the feelings. And so all feelings are welcome. Your financial reality. Some of us are living paycheck to paycheck. Some of us have an abundance of resources that we're sitting on, so we're not so concerned. 3 feelings that you feel about your financial reality. And whether you have a lot or a little, you can feel differently. You can have a little and feel joyful, and a lot and feel fearful. So just typing in 3 feelings in the chat box. Your financial reality now. Hopeful, unclear, unstable, thankful, calm, deliberate, blessed, all caps from Diana. Yes, dwindling, dwindling, dwindling. Conservation, that's definitely one of the words. People are conserving more with their money. Fearful, overly focused. Fearful, not wanting to spend, afraid. Exactly. Good, good, good. As a community, we're validating each other's experiences. What that says is that we're not alone. Okay? We're not alone. That alone can bring a sense of peace to the mind. Hopeful, positive, everything will be okay soon. Folks, we have one more we're going to get into. We're in the home stretch now. You all are doing fantastic. Let's get to one more slide. We're going to move next. And your overall future, whatever that is for you, your overall future, however you see your overall future, 3 feelings. This is going to be the last one, so make it a good one. Typing it into the chat box. I'll go ahead and read off just a few of them. Just a few of them. Unsure. Yes, let's bring that in. Then we can do something with it. Radiant, strong, empathy, fear, uncertainty, hopeful, both at the same time. Strong to conquer all, hopeful, reinvigorated, resilient. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of different, even juxtaposition between fearful and hopeful and uncertain and certain, different, indifferent, resilient. Okay, good stuff. Let's keep going to the next slide. We have excited as well. Awesome. My name is Jewel Love, MFT. Justin, if we have time for questions, we can take a few now. Otherwise, we can punt that toward the end. So I'm going to hand it over to you. But folks, I just want to say, as an action step, please be mindful of your feelings and emotions when you're listening to the news, looking at the stock market, interacting with clients, bringing them into your conscious mind, validating them. Don't suppress them, validating them, because then you have power. You have agency over what you can do and how you can move next. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jewel. That was amazing. And emotional literacy and awareness is so key. And coming from baseline of letting go of the distractions allows me personally to tap into that when I notice myself getting fearful or anxious or worried. So I would highly suggest incorporating some teachings from all 3 sections of this presentation. I think getting a baseline, meditating, checking in, giving voice to those feelings and identifying that, hey, I'm a human having an experience. You know, I'm not different. This is happening to a lot of people. And what if I can actually make friends with that, welcome it into my space, into my experience? So thank you so much. If anybody has any questions for Jewel, please put them into the Q&A. I'll be cycling those through to him, and we'll have some more time at the end of today's session to get into that. I don't see any questions right now, so I'd like to thank Jewel for his presentation and move on to our next presenter, Livia Jenvey. Livia is a business coach, consultant, speaker, author, and performance improvement specialist. She comes from a business background of over 20 years of corporate consulting and working with various large US corporations, as well as international companies as well. So she has spent the last decade helping entrepreneurs like myself, like you, getting the best out of their businesses, how to scale, how to identify, how to become more efficient, and moving forward, how to grapple with some of those challenges that Jewel identified on the emotional aspect. Livia is our presenter to talk about practical things that you can take today to start working on that. So identifying the emotions, making friends with them, and then getting into action. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Livia. Livia, take it away.
Thank you, Justin, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome here. Jewel provided us some really, really great information on really helping us moving forward. So we're going to build on that to really dive into what kind of business strategies that you can take today to be able to help you manage your business with all this fear and worry. So Jeannie, if you go ahead and go to the next slide for me. Thanks. So we're going to dive into what really is currently happening right now, really jump into the challenges that we're all facing. And right before that, I'll just give you just a quick little introduction, just into some things that really dive into why I'm sharing what I'm sharing with you today. And then we'll get into how to start to tackle these challenges, and then what strategy you can start to implement here and now to be able to help you move forward past this time so that you can be able to just have a strategy so you can move forward and empower your business through all of this. So go ahead to the next slide, please. So as Justin mentioned, I have worked with many companies over the years in helping them perform much better. And I've worked with many companies who've struggled and have gone through massive shifts and change that is in spaces of a lot of fear and worry. So I'm happy to be here today to really help share just some strategies that you can utilize today that can help you move forward and really empower your business. So go ahead to the next slide, please. All right, so what we are currently facing right now is this coronavirus that is a world pandemic. And this thing is impacting a lot of things in our life. It's impacting our health because people are getting sick. And unfortunately, a large number of people have died in our country and across the world from this. It's impacting our day-to-day life because most of us have had to shelter in place for over a month now. So we can't do what we normally do day to day. So most of us are stuck at home. And this has been really impacting a lot of businesses, which is impacting our economy. We've seen a ridiculous amount of people who've been filing for unemployment right now. And this is just very scary. There's a lot of unknowns about when this is all going to end. There's all this speculation going around everywhere. And this is impacting our well-being because we're not feeling as if we have any safety or security or we're able to take care of ourselves, or we're just a lot of unknowns. So this is a big problem for all of us right now that we're all facing together. Go to the next slide, please. And one of the biggest fears that what's really causing for all of us right now is that we're worried that this is going to be once again like that great financial crisis of 2008. So if you're feeling like that, you know, feel free to put in the chat below, like, yeah, this kind of feels like I'm worried this is going to be as big or bigger than what we all experienced in that financial crisis of 2008. And, you know, trying to sell a house, trying to be able to do things, that was really challenging back then. And so that is a huge fear that we're all facing right now. Because, go to the next slide, please. Because there's a lot of worry that, you know, we're going to have no customers, we're going to make no sales, we're going to have no money, no job, lose our homes, and we're going to end up ruined. Yeah, so it feels like it's never ending. It feels like we're going down, which it's super stressful. We don't know how to really manage it all. And so it's really difficult for us right now to kind of figure out what we're doing because we've got all this fear in sort of remembering what happened before, wondering if it's going to happen again or if it's going to be worse. So go to the next slide. So to really start to tackle these challenges that are really big in our lives, we need to start to determine what is really fact and what's really fiction, because there is definitely a lot of fiction out there right now, and it's unknown for us to really, what should we rely on? What should we think about? What should be things that are actually things we should be focusing on? As well as trying to find ways for us to stay healthy. This is very important for us, especially right here and now, because this is a global pandemic that is affecting our health. So our health is very important for us to maintain our livelihood, our businesses, our families, and working on our physical health, our emotional health, and our mental health, which Jewel touched on. A good deal on the emotional and the mental pieces is going to really help us begin to tackle these challenges. And third, what options that can help us financially supporting our business through all of this. We'll discuss a little bit of that here today. Next, please. All right, so here's the facts for you. The current COVID-19 crisis, which is also being called the C-19 downturn, is very different than the great financial crisis of 2008. And I'm going to show you how. Go to next slide. So here's the comparison between what happened to us in 2008 and what happened to us is currently happening to us right now. So in 2008, this was a crisis that was caused by the mortgage debt crisis, where there was just a lot of inflation in that area. There was a period of a weak economy prior to this crash. The federal stimulus effort that had helped during this time was really focused on bailing out the financial institutions, such as the banks and other financial institutions that were really being hemorrhaged at that time. And then at that point, everything stopped. The market stopped, the world stopped. This was a huge, huge financial crisis. The fact is that now with the C-19 downturn, we see different. So this gives us hope and opportunities that the shift out of this into our recovery was going to be different, because this has been caused by a public health threat. There was no any sort of financial basis behind why this crisis really started in the first place. There was a very strong economy prior to this downturn, and that the stimulus that they're doing now is higher than they've ever done before. And it's actually going towards households, businesses, financial institutions, and industries. I know that recently we just got approved again for another million, forgot the exact amount, 484, I believe it was, that was for businesses, and there's going to be more. So this is really the government is really helping the economy with this downturn to really help boost the recovery to be quicker. And then the market is still moving. Businesses are still getting done. Transactions are still happening. People are still buying. People are still selling. So these are things that we are seeing. There's actually the fact of what's really happening us now and why it's different, to start to look at what was different between these two periods of time. Next, please. Thank you. So here's something that to really consider our recovery out of this. And this is where we can start to think about, as we're starting to strategize for our businesses, where we can go from here. And this is a slide that I want to present because this is what the economists are saying right now is potential speculation of what could be the recovery potential for various different industries and what kind of impact is we start to move forward with our whole economy. And as I've highlighted here, the real estate industry is considered not as a high exposure impact that's going to have a lot of negative happen to it with this recovery. So this is a very different perspective than what we saw back in 2008, because in 2008, real estate was up there with the high exposure red, like we didn't know what was going to happen. But this is what they're speculating is the shift during this time. So these are things to really think about and consider as you are moving forward as an entrepreneur with your business, of how your industry is actually going to do as it recovers as we move forward. So please go to next slide, please. So now let's dive into just ways to stay healthy. We're going to start with your physical body. As you're running a business, you are utilizing your body day to day. Your salespeople, you're going out there, you're talking to people. Right now, you're more likely, on the phone, or you're doing virtual calls. You still have to keep your physical body healthy. And with this pandemic, as I mentioned, it's very, very imperative to keep your body healthy, your immune system good and high, so you can be able to help your body thrive during this time. So, physically, eating healthy meals, if you can get healthy meals, this is the best time. If you're looking to create recipes at home, try and think about what healthy recipes you can start to, play around with, see if that would be good to try out. Exercise. I know that unfortunately it's hard to go out to do any exercise, but right now there's the opportunities to get a ton of free exercise videos on YouTube all over the place. So you don't have to be stuck. You can still get some physical exercise. And even if it's just like a 15-minute little yoga video will give you so much for your body, helping those endorphins, helping your immune system stay in prime form. Drinking plenty of water. This is key. You've got a lot on time on the computer now. You may forget to drink water. This is very important to, keep yourself hydrated, and then getting enough sleep. This is I know this can be challenging because you've got a lot of thoughts in your head and you're a lot of worried about what's going to happen and how you're going to move forward, but sleep is very important to really help boost your immunity. So little exercises that you can do, little ticks, little trips, even just like putting a little lavender right on your pillow at night before you go to sleep, doing a little like relaxing yoga, doing some breathing practices such as what Justin shared with us today right before you go to bed is great ways to really help you physically stay healthy. Go ahead to next slide, please. And then let's go into your emotional. So Jewel provided us a great emotional literacy exercise today. This is one that is just a great thing to practice to really help with, staying healthy with your emotions and helping you get through all of this fear and worry that you're experiencing right now. And then mentally, reaching out to others to help support you, someone to talk to, a mental health care professional, like Jewel Love is a great example to reach out to talk to, or maybe a trusted friend, a family member, a mentor, someone who you can sit and talk to just to share what's going on can really help your body mentally stay healthy through this all. So go to next. So let's get into some of the financial support that can help you in your business right now. There are some great different areas to really check into if you haven't done so already. So the California Association of Realtors, they have a relief page that is constantly being updated with information to really help support your business. So if you have not done so already, definitely recommend to get on that page and see updates. You can apply for the federal aid. There's the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. There's the Paycheck Protection Program. This program just got refunded. So if you have not yet applied, go ahead and reapply for this now. Also just getting business loans from Small Business Financial Center or the SBA is really great ways to really help you financially help support your business during this time. Yes, and I definitely like the questions there. Yeah, Gabby Bernstein is a great, amazing self-help book. So whatever else that you need to really support you right now is just the way to support your health and well-being. So go to the next slide. So how can you today empower your business? And a really great way to do this is to use this fear that we are all facing right now to move yourself forward. And I'm going to share how you can make this even possible today. So go to the next slide. So fear can do two things for your life. It can either cripple you or it could fuel you. So you can let the fuel, that's the fear that's happening right now, either stop you from doing anything. I saw, the loss, the panic, the irritated, the frozen. These are when we are allowing a fear to be able to cripple us. But if you start to reposition how this fear is affecting you, and I know Jewel's exercise in emotional literacy is really great to really help you just pull out that fear and really work on it. This is a great way to help start to use that fear to fuel you, and that helps you fuel it and utilize it as a strategy for your business. Go to the next slide. So this is what you can do here and now today. That is the simple, easy action exercise to help you take this fuel, take this fear and use it as fuel. So I want you now to either get out a piece of paper, either you can, if you're on your computer, just open up a little Word document, or, if you've got a notebook on hand, I want you to get something out now so you can just start writing on it. And so once you've got that in hand, I want you to start to write down 5 to 10 things you can do today to connect to customers. So have there been any customers that you haven't called lately? Write that down on your list. Have you sent any emails to any of your potential customers who are trying to buy or sell? Who have you been reaching out to? I want you to start putting down all the people that you can reach out to here and now today. It could be residents in the communities that you normally sell in or do transactions in. It can even be customers that you haven't even spoken to in a long time. Maybe you sold to someone over 5 years ago. Who are these individuals? I want you to write down like 5 to 10 of them on that list here and now. So let me know if you've gotten at least, 5 in there that you've gotten, that you've decided that are people that you want to reach out to. And go ahead and put it into the chat, yes, I've got my 5, or even if you've got 3 individuals, go put those names down of who you can start to reach out to here and now. And then once you've gotten your list, awesome, you got your 5. So once you've gotten your list, I want you to pick one person on that list. So pick the one person on your list. All right, and go to the next slide. And then now what I want you to do is that each day you're going to pick one person and you're going to reach out to that individual, and you're going to just start to connect with them on the fear that they're feeling right now and the fear that you're feeling right now. So here's an example. You've got yourself at home, your fear, you're stressed out, and maybe you are, indulging a little bit more and drinking wine right now. So reach out to this old customer of yours, check in to see how they are, and see like, hey, are you also indulging a little extra wine right now with everything going on? You're building rapport with your customers. You're building a better connection with them. And as you're doing this, you're also empowering your business, because the more that you're able to reach out to those that you have worked with or you're potentially looking to work with, and building these connections with them, because we're all facing the same thing right now. We're all going through a lot of fear, a lot of worry, there's a lot of uncertainty. But as you reach out to them and just start to, discuss and share, you might start to talk about like, oh yeah, I'm trying out this kind of Merlot and you should try it out. You're building the rapport with your customers. And this rapport that you build more and more with your customers is going to help you grow your business, because your customers are also scared. They're in a lot of fear right now. There's a lot of worry, and they're looking for support to really help them. And a way to help you, instead of being crippled by this fear that you're facing right now, is to use this fear to reach out to the others. You've done your emotional literacy work to kind of pull the onions of this stuff that's coming out, and you start to reach out to folks and notice that they're kind of facing the same things. You're building that rapport. And as salespeople, the more rapport that you build with your customers, this is your ability to gain these sales with your customers in the future. Because there's a lot of stuff going on right now where you've got, for example, like this family, they're at home. This may have been a family that you worked with maybe 5 years ago. They were a couple, they had one kid. Now they're in a tiny little home. They've got 2 kids. They are trying to deal with being so, together in such a tiny little home. They're considering about buying a bigger house. So as you're developing this rapport with this customer, they're more likely going to reach out to you and say, hey, I want to work with you so I can get my next house. Or they might refer to others who are also going through this. So this is the way to build your business, with the goodwill of you helping and using that fear to fuel it as you are moving forward. So do this practice now for the next, 5 days, picking various people each day to reach out to connect to, and, try this now for the next 2 weeks to really help you move forward. So go to the next slide, please. So did you have any questions on just this very simple strategy here and now to really help you move forward just with your business?
Thank you so much, Livia. I don't see any Q&A in the chat box right now, so I'm going to invite everybody to please submit their questions in the Q&A for either Livia or Jewel specifically, and we'll open it up. We're at about 12:46 by my watch, so we've got some time. And until we get any questions, I kind of wanted to open up a dialogue and see if Jewel would like to jump back in and join us, and we can sort of workshop some strategies, because Livia just highlighted something I think might also be helpful, and Jewel, for your context, in writing down those emotions. Do you suggest some sort of daily practice that somebody could engage in to kind of make friends with those feelings that they're having?
100% journaling. It's a great go-to for people. You can do it on your computer. Some people like to write it in like a Moleskine type journal, whatever works for you. At the end of the day, when you've called people and reached out to people, as Livia talked about, and are working your plan, your action-oriented plan, being able to jot down some notes around what happened for you that day, it's a key wellness practice and it costs you nothing to do. And also jot down the emotions that are coming up for you, not just the thoughts or the actions, but also that third piece that pushes things over a little bit and makes space for your emotional reality too. So that's an easy one that people can do, is journal in the evening before they're going to go to bed. It can be a good way to get better sleep, like Livia was talking about as well. So yeah, definitely that's a go-to, and that can be a daily practice.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And while we were chatting, a question came up. What if I'm a new agent? How can I meet clients in this environment? And Livia, I don't know if you have any specific ideas about that.
There's several ideas that you can do for meeting new clients. Right now, everyone is stuck online. So you have the ability to create a great platform is going on, for example, like a meetup or a Nextdoor, and setting up some sort of like a virtual happy hour. This is just something that you can connect with potential new clients, especially if it's Nextdoor, that you have the ability to connect to different people within that sort of residential area that you are looking to do your working with. And you can just set up a virtual happy hour where you get people together. You can maybe talk about different, wines or different strategies. Maybe families at home are struggling with trying to take care and work and manage kids. So maybe shares different strategies with that. It's all about you just reaching out and connecting with your potential new clients in ways that might be able to support them. So start to kind of think about ways that you could help those right now who are stuck at home, and what are things that you can do virtually to just reach out and connect with them. And you'll be very surprised that, there's a lot of folks out there who are, excited to do a virtual happy hour, or they're looking for some advice on like how to sleep better, or what's a good workout video to go to. They're looking for that sort of inspiration. So think of it as that you want to position yourself as an advisor for your clients. So what sort of way that you can help advise them just get through what they're getting through in day to day.
That's a great point, and something I'm personally practicing as well, and putting out those images and inspirations that I find helpful, and hopefully it brings some solace to others, but also focusing on content that may be useful to people in these hard times. Webinars, videos, social media posts. Think about what type of identity I want to put out there and who I am, what differentiates me, and kind of lean into that, because I think, Jewel, as you were talking about, our personal characteristics and experiences are the strength and the differentiator between me and, say, somebody else out there. Wouldn't you say that's a resource?
I mean, absolutely. I think Livia is probably more the business professional here on the real estate front, but I think just as business people in general, sure, that piece and possibly the niche that you're targeting right now, so you can speak to them with language that definitely resonates. So it's less of a shotgun approach, but more of a streamlined approach for who you want to target at this time. Would you mind if I share one more thing on the topic?
No, please go ahead. I think we have a few more minutes before we're going to wrap up.
Yeah, so it's actually it's connected to emotions as well. Is if you felt great about this time, connecting to Livia's strategy, what actions would you be taking that you might not be taking otherwise? Keeping it safe, of course. If the thinking was this was one of the most opportune times in the real estate industry, what actions might you be taking and shifting into, as opposed to maybe waiting for things to go back to how they were? It's leaning into how they are and possibly how they will be going forward. And there's a lot of opportunity even in that too. So just some creative mindset shift kind of questions there too. But yeah, I'm probably more of the emotions, mental health guy than the business savvy person.
Oh, no, that makes tons of sense on my end. Thank you for sharing those thoughts. And I know, Livia, you just had a couple closing ideas for people before we get into the final mindfulness moment to help you all go on with the rest of your day. So I'm going to turn it back over to Olivia to end your presentation.
Yeah, so if you just go to the next slide, please. So I just wanted to leave you with this quote by Richard Branson. We all know him. He is the mega billionaire who, you know, he's definitely, what he says, got some clout. So something really to think about that I love is a quote from him, is that it is important not to fear fear, but to harness it, to use it as fuel to take your business to the next level. After all, fear is energy. So just think about that right now, because, you know, this is a great time to build great relationships with new clients and existing clients. And those relationships that you build with these clients now by connecting with them, you know, providing, you know, just even being a sounding board for them, just they wanted to share, this is going to help you be able to, you know, get your deals, sell the houses, put those things on the market super fast so that you're able to stay in business, because, you know, real estate is still happening, it's still moving, and people are scared, and some of that scared is that they're just feeling timid. So being that advisor to help build those relationships with them and use that fear to fuel you will help you be able to thrive in all of this.
Well, that's great.
Thank you. So go to the next slide just quickly. And then feel free, if you want to connect with me, just reach out to me here on jenveyconsulting.com. So thank you guys, and I'll just hand it back over to you, Justin.
Thank you, Livia. And just another shout out to Jewel and Livia. If anybody in attendance would like to schedule consultations with them, they've kindly offered to get those set up for you. Please reach out to them at your earliest convenience, or schedule something further out in as your schedule permits. I know we're super busy. Before we go today, I just wanted to say this is the first in a series of 3 webinars that we are going to be hosting. The same crew will be here again on May 8th and May 22nd. So the May 8th workshop is going to focus on adapting and innovating. Now that we've gotten some strategies for checking in with our emotions, staying healthy emotionally, mentally, and physically, and kind of focusing on how can we use this fear to fuel us moving forward, our next webinar on May 8th is going to focus on adapting and innovating. Given that we can come from a grounded, holistic approach, what changes can we implement? How do we move forward from here? And how do we grow through this challenging time? Because the only constant is change. What matters is what you do with it. So Jen, if we could go to the next slide, please. I want to share with people a couple practical things that you can do today to get back in touch with that centered feeling. So similarly to before, I'd like you all to indulge me, and we'll go through another little mindfulness practice. If you're seated, please sit with your seat on the chair, with your back straight, your feet flat on the floor, and your hands just resting on your legs. If you're standing, just let your arms fall to your sides. And we'll start with a few deep breaths again, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And let's just check in with our body again. After a couple of deep breaths, let your eyes close. And let's check in with the body. See if there was a change from when you started this webinar. Is your body more calm? Is it energized? Do you feel motivated to change? Do you feel grateful for your home, for your food, for your clothes, for taking the step today to empower yourself? And focus on that energy, that change, that shift, and recognize that the only constant is change. You started this series in a different place only an hour ago than where you are right now. That's how quickly things can change. And that's how much agency you have over that. So as you focus on that energy, I just want to share with you all a poem by Rumi entitled The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So let's all just settle in that moment for a second. And take a deep breath in through the nose and release it. And as you go on about your day today, remember these 4 things. At any point today, in the future, when you feel overwhelmed, fearful, anxious, worried, you can always pause, breathe, check in, and let go. And it all starts from there. So again, if you like this seminar, we're going to have 2 more, May 8th and May 22nd. Make sure to keep an eye out for the link SFAR will be sending out. Please register, join us, and again, sign up with Olivia or Jewel for those complimentary consultations and get started. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks again.